Okay, today I decided it's been a while since we've watched anything related to India. So today for us, I chose a program called the Chola Heritage. The Chola Heritage by the Ministry of Information Films Division, which is pretty much India's propaganda arm. Let's see, this says it was published in 1980. So this is another more recent program than most of what we've watched on this channel so far, but it looks like it's still black and white. That's why I chose it. I tend to think things that are black and white are 50s, 40s even, but I guess we're watching a black and white program from the 1980s, so that should be fun. In terms of what this is actually about, I have no idea. I have no familiarity with the term Chola at all. I don't know if that's like a person group or like a person's name or something. I'm going to be learning a lot this program, so let's dive in, shall we? Wow, all right. Already the music is a very different than what I was expecting. Usually in these Indian Films Division programs, you get some really, really nice sitar strums to introduce you to the program. But this is this is very harsh. This is a very strange sound. Doesn't even ring Indian to me. So I'm curious about the music that's playing right at the start of this. Is this I don't even know what instrument this is. I can't even imagine how someone's making this sound. So please, if any Indian viewers are listening to this and they know exactly what I'm listening to, please let me know in the comments. It sounds like a balloon being scraped against like somebody's body or something. It's like this, oh man, that's a really weird sound. Please, I would love to know what instrument that is. I do like the drums in this though. The drums are at least very cool. This, again, not very Indian sounding drums, but I guess that's just me. Okay, here we go, the credits. Photography is Ravivarma. That's so funny how they're just doing first names. Photography, Ravivarma. Sound, Viswan. I feel like I've tried to pronounce this name before. Viswanathan. Viswanathan. That's like the Jonathan of India, I bet. Editing, M. Mani, and music, M.B. Shrivanasan. I feel like I recognize these names, or at least some of them, right? Can somebody go back to the other Indian programs I've watched? Have I listened to Srinivasan's music before? I feel like I have. But this is also the 1980s. That's what I have to remember. Most of these are like from the 60s. So maybe this is new talent that I'm watching here. It's so funny that it's only one name for the credits. Like, which Viswamathan did the sound? You know, there has to be more than one of those guys in all of India. Script, direction, production by Ador Gopalakastran. All right, seems to be like the guy who produced all of this. The script, direction, production. So if he did all those jobs, then yeah, this is like the director or like the most important member of the team. Dude, that is such a harsh sound. That almost, you know what that almost sounds like? That almost sounds like an elephant trumpeting. Like that might be what they're trying to get at with that sound even. Maybe that'd be really cool if they made an instrument to sound like an elephant. Or maybe it just is an elephant. That would be even cooler if they like had an elephant in a band to like perform in tune. That would be cool. Okay, yeah, so the second the credits are done, the music changes to be more in line with what I expect from these Indian programs. A lot of sitar all of a sudden. Oh, but hang on, even before we get into it though, I'm trying to recognize this temple. I don't recognize it from any of the other programs we've watched, but I have a feeling it's going to be important here. I love this music. I love the sitar, like the gentle sitar strums. Oh man, I'm such a fan of this soundscape.
Dravidian architecture.
Dravidian architecture, interesting. So are we in the south of India? Maybe that's why I didn't recognize the temple at all, because it's completely different. Dravidian architecture, that's fun. That's a lot of fun actually. Let's keep going.
Attained the zenith of its development under the Chola dynasty in the 10th and 11th centuries.
Chola dynasty. All right, so Dravidian architecture. I love that we're talking about architecture already. Dravidian architecture reached its peak under the Chola dynasty. So that's what the Chola means. Chola is the name of a dynasty. That's good to know. That's already information I didn't have before. So we're already learning here. And so the Chola dynasty reached its peak in the 10th, 11th century. That's interesting. I've never ever heard of the Chola dynasty. So this is really interesting India-specific history that I feel like we're learning now.
Dravidian architecture attained the zenith of its development under the Chola dynasty in the 10th and 11th centuries. The Cholas were great temple builders.
The Cholas were great temple builders. You know, I feel like that could be said about India as a whole. Just the entire subcontinent, really good temple builders on it. Like maybe the best temple building civilization in the world is here in India because they have different groups that are good at building temples. They have the Chola who are good at building temples. They had the Mughals, they had the Jains. Everyone in India seems to be good at building temples.
They built numerous stone temples throughout their kingdom. Till the end of the 10th century, the buildings were not very large.
Wow, okay, so this is an early 10th century version of a Chola temple. That's pretty cool. That is different from the other architectural styles of India so far. Like we've learned about the Mughals and we even learned about the Indo-Europeans who first came into India thousands of years ago, and their structures didn't look anything like this. So I very much appreciate getting to notice the architectural differences between the cultures within India. That's a very fascinating subject, I think. Like you can tell this is a different culture just based on the architecture, which is a very interesting thing.
The temple of Vijayalaya Choleshwara is one of the finest examples of the early Chola style.
Finest example of the early Chola style. So it looks like they have like these domes on top of the temple, but it's a square base. There's a lot of different aspects to take into this. It's just so fascinating. I can't believe there are so many different architectural schools of thought in one place like this. That's really amazing. And the fact that they have these great stone temples to illustrate their architectural thoughts really just helps exemplify the temple building prowess of the Indian people. Because it's dragons and tigers, right? That's what these animals are. Maybe an elephant. Yeah, that's an elephant. Okay, so it's elephants, dragons, and tigers, which two of those say China louder than they say India to me, but I guess those are all in India. Well, I guess not dragons, but I guess the other two are.
It has the unusual arrangement of a circular shrine.
Whoa, okay, wow, okay, so I called that out, the unusual arrangement of a circular shrine. So that's the first thing I noticed, right? The circular dome top to these. This is actually a really interesting shot right here because you can actually see the temple is almost constructed like a pyramid, except the top is a dome. That's like, wow, that is an interesting architectural mashup, I guess. I obviously they're not inspired by the Egyptians, but the fact that they came up with the same shape but a different, capstone. It's just, again, illustrative of the different culture that exists here.
Within a square prakara. Above them rises the Vimana, the sanctuary tower, in 4 diminishing stories.
In 4 diminishing stories, yeah. So this is, wow, this is like a pyramid and like a church combined. So because it's a room, it's almost like a cruciform room as well. Wow. I wonder if we get to see the inside because that's kind of what I'm curious about now. I bet it's beautiful in there. I bet there are so many stone carvings of people and animals in there. Oh, I bet it's, I gotta go to India just for the temples. You're right. Oh man, I'm so glad we're learning about temples and sub-shrines right now. This is the most exciting thing ever.
Around the main temple are 7 sub-shrines, built of stone and resembling the main temple in essential features. This arrangement was typical of the early Chola period.
Wow, hang on. So what is this temple? Is this like a worshipping temple, or is this like a mausoleum or like a king's, burial sort of thing? It seems like it's a worshipping sort of temple, but what religion? Again, that's the big question when it comes to India is what religion? Maybe it's every religion again, but it's just like, I don't know. Is it a religious temple like that, or is it more like a humanistic temple? I don't know. Oh wow, yeah, look at this horse. See, this is what I was talking about. Just the most beautiful carvings of animals wearing the most ornate little horse sweaters or whatever. Oh man, so good, so good. Best temple builders by far in India. I'm saying it. Wow, look at this wheel. Is this the wheel of Dharma? Oh man, look at the carving. Oh, the details on every one of the little spokes. Oh, and it's so good. It's so symmetrical too. It's so perfectly carved. It's so impressive. I love seeing stuff like this. This is like the most fascinating part of like human art and human society is the temples that we create out of stone. Yeah, like look how ornate this horse is. It's not just a horse. It's a horse covered in like the I don't even know what to call these things. Like the saddle obviously, but then the headdress and everything, and then like the beads on its body that Indian people do. Like that's such a cool work of art right there. Again, how old is that? Probably 1,000 years about right now. Wow. Yeah, that's having its 1,000-year birthday right about now. Oh, okay, so it's a wheel. So it's not the wheel of Dharma. It's supposed to be a horse and a wheel, so it's like a chariot. Interesting. Here's some people. Again, this looks more Buddhist, honestly. I'll say this looks more like I don't know how they depicted this guy. He looks like a Buddha. He doesn't have the classic iconography of the Buddha. Sort of. His face looks like Buddha, though. I don't know, but maybe that's just again, if Buddha is an Indian person and this is also an Indian person, maybe it's not a Buddha at all.
The temple of Nageshwara at Kumbhakonam is remarkable for the sculptures found in the niches of its outer wall.
Okay, yeah, we have some more women decorating this temple as well. Man, like I'm definitely a fan of this style of architecture. Man, like this is such a cool temple. I'm so jealous of Indian people getting to see sites like this just regularly. Like this is just a normal place for most people. I wonder where this is. This has to be in the south, right? If it was the Dravidians, this must be like a southern Indian temple. Either way, real cool. Wow, but yeah, absolutely beautiful carving though. Like I'm so impressed with what people were able to accomplish 1,000 years ago. And the fact that there was enough resources in the society to support a person who was capable of doing this level of skilled artistry. Again, that's really what it exemplifies. Not that there's a good artist in this society, is that this society is so functional that it can support artists as good as this. That's really what this exemplifies, is that this is a very functional society, really. You don't get huge stone temples with beautiful carvings in them from a dysfunctional society, right? You only get that sort of stuff. The peak human civilization, like artifacts, only come from fully functional societies. So that's what this tells us, really, is that the Chola dynasty was a very functional dynasty.
The figures are tall, slender, and pleasing.
Yeah, you can say pleasing again.
The ornamentation is...
Wow, look at these faces. These are pretty well done faces. These aren't quite on the same level as like classical Greek sculptures, I don't think, but the fact that they're part of a temple that is still standing makes them more impressive, I feel like, because Greece has a lot of really impressive carvings and statues and temples, but never all in the same place, all intact together like this. You know, like India has a lot of temples that are actually still used as temples and still maintained as temples. Whereas I feel like a lot of the similar archaeological remnants that Europe had have been destroyed or taken into museums in a certain way.
Delicate and intricate.
I feel like this woman's pose specifically we've seen in like the Jain temples before. Like that's a very Indian pose.
The temple of Koringanatha represents the next stage of evolution in Chola architecture.
The next stage of evolution in Chola architecture. Interesting. So we're actually getting to see the progression of Chola society through their architectural remnants. That is fascinating. I hope they speak on that more.
All the sculptures are in very high relief and of fine workmanship.
Yeah, this does look like one step improvement above the last temple we'd looked at. So it's interesting to know that this probably came like 100 or 200 years after the temples we were just looking at. So yeah, they're definitely practicing artistry and improving on their techniques in artistry, which again shows you how stable and functioning this society was. Oh wow, look at these carvings. I didn't know what these were at first, but they're like little dogs or dragons or something. Again, there's just so much detail in every little corner of this temple. Like, I don't even know what these are. Steps? Like, there's just, oh my God, there's so many animals carved into every space in this temple. It really is amazing. Yeah, all right. So it looks like inside the temple, all you're gonna find are these really busty women, which I can appreciate. But it's funny. It's funny how the outside is adorned with all these animals and people and all the mythological stories, but the inside looks rather, I don't want to say bare because it's still very ornate, but it is not as crowded with detail as the outside of the temple, which maybe makes it feel more, I don't know, I don't want to say divine, but simple. To have a simple indoor space, maybe it makes more sense for worship. But then you have these incredibly busty women statues as a distraction anyway. So I don't know. It's an interesting way of laying out a temple that does not exist here in the Christian Western side of the world. But hang on, go back though. Like, look at these columns though. Like, I've heard so much in architectural study. I've heard so much about like the Corinthian columns and the Doric and the Ionian columns. But Indian people have their own sorts of ornate columns. Like, look at the corners of these columns. Like, there's some sort of carving in it. I can't quite see exactly how ornate it is, but you can see that even though these columns aren't the same as the classical, Greek columns, they still have their own art styles being displayed through their columns. Like it's interesting how multiple civilizations have made columns and figured out ways of illustrating their culture through their columns. Like even the Egyptians did that. It's fascinating.
Muvakoil is another early Chola temple complex, notable for the novelty of its architecture.
Interesting. Is this its roof, so it has a hollowed like step up to a ceiling? Interesting.
Of the three vimanas forming the central shrines amidst a group of sub-shrines, only the central and southern ones have survived.
See, that's fair. Earlier I said that most of the temples in India have survived, which, as we just heard, some of them have been destroyed. Only a few of these temples still stand, but that's still more impressive than what I feel like exists of like Greek temples or whatever. Like, show me an intact Greek temple. Like, the Parthenon does not count. Like, that's not intact anymore. There's no equivalent to temples like this for ancient Greece that's still around. Like there's no equivalent. Like you have to go to India to see temples like this.
The principal shrines have been conceived as Padmakoshas, one of the lowest moldings simulating the petals of a full-blown lotus.
Interesting. So the very bottom edge of the temple is gilded in like these lotus leaves, which is very interesting because I was talking about columns a second ago, and the Egyptians actually decorated their columns in lotuses because they had lotuses on the Nile. So even though these civilizations had similar plants, they used to incorporate them into their art in different ways. The Egyptians put the lotuses on top of their columns, and then the Indians put the lotuses on the bottoms of their temples. So again, that's just very interesting to see how different cultures incorporate elements that are similar to one another in different ways. Like, look at this. Oh my God. So there's a cow carved all the way up here in the temple. See, oh man, like these temples are so complex. Like, who even came up with this? Like, how do you, it's so ornate. It's so intricate. How do you design a structure like this and then carry it out like this? It's amazing. I'm amazed. I am in a state of amazement currently.
Among the sculptures on the walls of the Vimana are several forms of Shiva.
Several forms of Shiva. So this is just like a regular Indian temple. This isn't like a specific Chola religion or anything. This is just like Shiva, Vishnu is going to be here probably. Probably everyone. The whole gang is going to be here. Ganesh might make an appearance, I don't know.
In the early years of King Rajaraja's rule, many temples of moderate size sprang up in different parts of his growing empire. One of the most remarkable is the Brihadishwara temple.
Like, how many temples have we looked at already? Like 4, 5, 6? Like, there's so many temples that are so well preserved in this style. It's amazing. Like, look at this cow. Like, this actually looks like just a perfect plain cow. That's so funny, though, that they just have cows sitting on the corners of this temple. Like, in Europe, we'd have, like, lions or something, not cows, you know? Not, not just, like, these plain old animals. But I guess that specifically is part of Indian culture, the valuing of the cows above all else. So that, I guess that does make sense.
These sculptures are of great interest for the iconography of the period.
Yeah, there's definitely like Jainism inspired in this temple, or at least, I don't know, there was interplay between the Jains and the Cholas, based on the Jain temples that we looked at in the previous video list. Whoa, that was a very abrupt shift in musical tone there, but I guess that's the same music that we started out with. So let's look at this new temple, because this is really cool. This is, again, like a pyramid with a dome top. You can actually see the pyramid shape take form from this distance away. That's actually so interesting. I don't think I've ever heard about these sorts of pyramids. I don't even know if people consider these pyramids, but I do. I think India does have pyramids. They're Chola temples, because that's so interesting. It's pretty much a pyramid, but with a dome on top. That's so fascinating.
The Brihadishwara temple.
Brihadishwara temple. I gotta remember these, or at least I gotta remember to go back to these, because whenever I go to India, like, I want to go here specifically.
At Tanjavur is a landmark in the evolution of the building art in India.
Yeah, you could say that again. This is a landmark in the building art of India. This is like turning the dial to 11. Like, I can't even see the temple through all the carvings it has on it. Like, it's just a mountain of carvings to me, which is so impressive. Like, not only did they stack all these huge heavy rocks on top of one another, but then they carved them into something so beautiful and ornate and recognizable as a different sort of human structure. Oh man, it's amazing.
It is the largest, the highest, and the most ambitious production of its kind hitherto undertaken by Indian builders.
Yeah, I feel like I do recognize this, though. I feel like, is this orange in real life or is it gray? I feel like, no, I think it's gray.
Built by Rajaraja in 1010
Maharaja, that's a name I recognize, but I feel like that is like the title of a king or something.
AD. This masterpiece in temple architecture also marks the zenith of evolution of the Vimana, measuring more than 200 feet in height.
And again, you can tell where these carvings or statues came from because of not only the style that they were carved in, this is a very Indian subcontinent sort of style, but also it's a cow again. So if you understand what cultures worship or value cows a lot more than others, you could probably tell this is originated in India.
The Nandi Mandapa contains one of the largest monolithic bulls known in South India.
Oh, hey, wow, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was, actually. That is that is huge. I need people for scale, because stone buildings like this, stone structures, are so hard to tell the scale of sometimes. So this is like 20 or 30 feet tall. This stone head of this bull could like crush a car. Like, look at these columns. These are so much more ornate than any Corinthian column from Greece. This column has 4 pretend columns carved into it. Like, that's crazy.
The whole temple, from the heavily molded parts of its high basement to its finial, is a magnificent example of solidity combined with proportion and grace of form.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. This is a very good display of a whole lot of different things, to be honest. This is a true masterpiece, is all I'm trying to say.
The temple of Gangaikonda Cholapuram, the creation of Rajaraja's son Rajendra, evidently meant to excel its predecessor in every way. Erected about 1030 AD in much the same style as Thanjavur.
Wow, yeah, they just keep getting more ornate and more complex. Oh man, and taller too. That's I wonder if the Chola dynasty had continued even longer, if we would have gotten like some truly spectacular temples. Not to say that the ones we've seen aren't truly spectacular, they are. I wonder if the Chola dynasty had lasted longer, what the even crazier, bigger temples would have looked like that they cooked up. Like that's a question we'll never have answered, I guess.
The largest of their kind in South India.
Right, like look at the fingers. Like look at, oh my gosh, that's so hard to even conceptualize how to carve fingers in that position out of stone. Like that's, like they gave themselves so much more work because of how like Indian religion hand gestures work than like otherwise. Like they, instead of just having flat hands or like fist hands, like they have these weird little hand positions that are so much more challenging to carve, I have to imagine. So you have to appreciate that even more, that they're carving these incredibly delicate fingers into stone like this. Like, oh my god, it's all so impressive.
These Dwarapalas suggest a parade of power.
Like, look at this entryway. This is, what a sick entryway. Like, how tall do you think these human statues are? Probably like 10 or 11 feet. This is probably a very intimidating door to walk through. I'm so glad this stuff exists though, and it's still like perfectly preserved. Oh, it's so cool to get to see.
The ornate style of the sculptures marks an emphasis on the Gandhara aspect. As
Ganghara aspect. I wonder what that exactly means. Ganghara. Is that like referring to the southern half of India? I don't know. I don't know what that means.
King Rajendra took special pride in bringing Ganges water to his capital.
Oh, bringing Ganges water to his capital. That's interesting. So are we in the south or are we in the north? Or is it impressive that he brought Ganges water to him because he's in the south and the Ganges is in the north? I wonder. I feel like Indian people probably are more familiar with this story, or at least some Indian people are, maybe the Southerners. But either way, I feel like I have no familiarity with this story, so I'm going in blind right now.
As tribute from the kings of the north, whom he had defeated in battles.
Interesting, the kings of the north who he defeated in battle. So he came from the south, defeated northerners, which I feel like is irregular in the history of India, to the point where he obtained water from the Ganges. Interesting. The Ganga, as it's called. Oh, hang on, that was interesting. I want to go back just for a second, just to look at the statue in this little inset. Everything is so fascinating, but what I really want to pay attention to is just this block coming out of the wall, just to support the foot of this statue. Do you see that? How every single part of the statue is self-supported except for the foot. The foot needs this thing coming out of the wall to support it. That's so funny. That's so well thought out as well. To know that you're going to need something to support that foot if you want it to last 1,000 years. So wow, that just goes to show the true level of craftsmanship that went into all of these. Like the foot is being supported. It's just incredible. I don't want to talk about it, but it's incredible.
In this very telling sculpture, Rajendra places himself humbly at the feet of Shiva to receive the laurels of victory from the god himself. This sculpture is a great masterpiece of the Chola art.
Well, okay, so that's a masterpiece. I was calling the other things masterpieces, but I guess this has like religious significance, I guess, to the Chola, right? Is this their king down here receiving laurels of victory from the creator himself, Shiva? So that's got to be pretty important.
This sculpture is a great masterpiece of the Chola art.
Dude, even like these little carved walls, right? Like it's not just a stone wall, it's a stone wall with rectangles, perfect rectangles carved out of it. Like, oh my gosh, like how long did that take even? Like, ah man, oh man, my mind is just so blown by how much work went into these temples. Like, how do they even build these? Do you stack stones up and then carve them down? Or do you carve these and then connect them all? I don't even know. How do you build something like this, man?
Tarasuram is probably the richest Chola temple, both in decorative exuberance and artistic finish.
Okay, so this temple is like the pinnacle of Chola heritage right here. Cool, so we're at the peak now. Well, honestly, yeah, I will say, like, even these carvings, everything does look even more ornate. Like, they definitely took their time on every aspect of this temple, which I could have said which I could have said about every past temple as well, but you really can tell here.
Here, there are excellent sculptures, both miniatures and large ones, to illustrate the late phase of Chola art.
So I guess the Chola dynasty is reaching its peak, and then something bad is going to happen. What bad happened to the Chola dynasty to get it to crumble? I guess the years should help, though. If it's 10 to 11, I think that's before the Mughals came, right? I don't know. I don't know what displaced the Chola dynasty, but maybe we'll learn. And if not, if we don't learn what ended the Chola's reign, somebody in the comments let me know, please. Oh man, I like this statue. This looks like the old wise man or something. I've been reading a little bit of Indian mythology. I've been reading the Ramayana. It's back there, and there's just in Indian stories, there's always just like the old wise man. I don't know if if that makes sense to a lot of people, but there's always just like an old wise guy somewhere. Like I don't know how to describe it other than that, but Indian mythology is full of just old dudes who know like everything. So I wonder if this is some sort of interpretation of that. Wow, look at these little like half-fat Buddhas. Like these are, yeah, like sort of in the tradition of very fat Buddhas, but not quite. But that's a very big belly, so I don't know. These are like half-fat Buddhas. Again, are these Buddhas or whatever you call like I'm calling them Buddhas. That's what that's what my dumb American brain calls them. But like, are these actual Buddhist statues or are these some other specific, Hindu religion?
This exquisite carving of damsels with their garments slipping off is a sculptor's dream.
With their garments slipping off. See, again, I feel like the classic Greek sculpture was better, but the subject material might be a lot more fun in Indian sculpture. I just think, like, I can't quite tell that their garments are slipping off. To me, it looks like their garments have fallen off and have been off for quite some time now. I can't quite see garments falling off. I guess I can sort of see it, but I don't know. I can't quite make that out. I'm a little distracted in looking at those images. Oh man, see, like, look at these columns. This is what I was talking about. Like, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Greeks, they didn't make columns this ornate. This is some true ornate columns right here, man. This is only in India, really. Only in India. Oh man, what even are these? Are these elephants? What are these, tigers? I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. So amazing. Every detail. Like, oh man, the fact that the column has like a square, but then it's also octagonal, like, it's so cool, man. Like, who came up with all this? Yeah, that was an ornate column if I've ever seen one. I'm so glad that I called out ornate columns earlier because we got a special feature of these ornate columns here.
temple is pervaded with a wonderful suggestive note of Nitya Vinoda, eternal dance and music.
And I feel like this would be so much cooler if I understood Hindu mythology better. Like, I feel like there are so many characters that I'm seeing that I just don't have any, understanding of or appreciation for, that if I did, if I knew who these characters were and the stories that they were creating combined together in this, formation, I think it would blow my mind even more. Like, what, you carved these characters from this one story altogether? Like, I feel like they did do that sort of stuff. I just can't really comprehend it because I'm not familiar enough with Hindu mythology to pick out these different characters. But again, if anyone in the comments wants to help me out with that, feel free. There's definitely a recurring theme with all these female carvings, though. I know I mentioned this a little in the Jain temples episode, but the Indians definitely had different sensibilities when it came to what parts of the human were cool to carve and not. It's funny, though, because you compare this to ancient Greek or classical Greek sculptures, and there is different nudity in those. These have a lot of female chest nudity, should I say, but then you look at ancient Greek or classical Greek statues, and there's a lot of lower male nudity there. So I don't know. I think this is honestly preferable to the nudity that's acceptable in the classical settings, as opposed to the Indian standard of nudity right here. I'm seeing a lot different things on display than what are typically on display in other civilizations. But what's interesting is I'm not seeing like the things that the Greeks depicted on men. I don't see any of that here. Like, there's only female depictions of nudity, or maybe they're not even nude in their concept of being nude. Like a shirtless woman in India might not be considered as nude as that is in, the Western civilizations. So I don't know. I'm very fascinated with how they choose to depict the human body, and specifically what parts of the human body are appropriate to put on a temple like this. Because there's a whole lot of breasts everywhere, but no other private part of a human. So that might tell you a little something about Indian culture and women's place, or their perception of women in Indian culture. And honestly, I'll say it, these statues are setting a bit of a hard beauty standard to reach. Like, nothing's going to be as perky as the breasts of the women on the stone temples, like no one's going to achieve that level of perkiness. But this is also a trap that I always fall for, is commenting on the breasts of the Indian temples, because I feel like that's just me falling for it. Like, that's not what they intended for people to perceive out of this at all, but I'm just a dumb idiot who sees nothing but breasts, I guess. It's just like, it's funny that their main iconography is animals and women with giant breasts. But it's interesting that that's what they settled on. That definitely says something about Indian culture, or at least Chola culture. I don't know. I think that's a thread common throughout all of India, though, not just the Chola temples.
Fine examples of late Chola sculptures are seen in the niches of the gopurams, the gateways at Chidambaram.
There's just so many, too. I feel like there's just so many more carvings and statues and relics of this era of India's history than like any era of like Western civilization. Like, there's so much left over from this civilization. It's incredible, really. I feel like Indian people need to appreciate how much of their ancient civilizations they still have with them. Like, they need to understand that that's not the case everywhere.
These dance panels from the gopurams at Chidambaram illustrate the dance modes described by Bharata in the Natya Shastra. Here is a clear impression of dance during the heyday of art in the Chola period.
Yeah, that's so fascinating that you can tell that they're dancing through their depictions of them as well. Like that's something that you don't really see a lot in stone carvings, because obviously dance is a very movement intensive process. So it's hard to capture the essence of movement in something as so solid as stone. So it's very impressive that they're able to make these fluid shapes and the sense that these people are moving in a medium that is completely opposite to the idea of movement. Is this just on repeat? Are we just going back and forth, or are these new statues? Because I feel like I'm seeing a lot of similar stuff. Oh, that's an impressive one. She's like hanging upside down. These are so cool, man.
Tribhuvanam is the last important temple belonging to the Cholas.
This is like an amazing temple. It's like a huge area. Oh my gosh. Wow. Like, there's just nothing like this in like America for one. I would die for something like this in America. But there's nothing like this even in like Europe even. Maybe there's some cool stuff like this in Europe, but this is so cool is what I'm trying to say. Like this is not only cool, but it's special to a specific place, and that place is southern India, which is, again, I'm definitely appreciating the arts and history and mythology of India a lot more through doing this.
The dark interior passage around the sanctum of the Brihadishwara temple is the repository of the most comprehensive set of Chola murals, discovered in 1930.
Discovered in 1930? That's crazy. Like, what do you mean discovered? Discovered by who? Didn't the people know this was here? I don't know. That's crazy how you discovered something like this in a temple. Like, how do you, oh my gosh, like, how do you hide something so well in a temple like this that it needed to be discovered later? Like, I have to imagine somebody knew about this prior to this. But what makes this really fascinating, I think, is, as they said, this is not a temple sculpture or a carving, but it's a mural. So I think this is like painted on the stone, which is a different form of art than the stone carving. So it's interesting to see how different art forms exist within the same structure, the same place, and how they differ, how the art form actually differs based on the materials used, I guess. These still feel like they're within the iconography of India, but they do have a different look to them than the stone carvings because they are made from different materials.
The legend of Sundaramurti is among the themes depicted.
Look at these paintings, though. It's funny because their carvings are honestly a little more impressive than their paintings are. It's just, I feel like that's just how things work. But these are fascinating. It's funny how the women are also depicted almost the same way as the carvings are. It's funny how the men are always depicted wearing shirts and the women aren't. Like, so apparently they had shirts. It's not like it was too hot and nobody was wearing shirts. Like, the men were wearing shirts this whole time, but the women not. Where is that a weird question? Like, are these women depicted topless because that's actually how women were in India back during, 1000 AD? Or is it just for our pleasure that they're shirtless? I don't know. It's tough to really make out the details of these murals, but they do look really impressive. They look like when they were first made, they were highly detailed. It's a shame because obviously paints on rocks last a lot shorter than just rocks do themselves. So I guess these murals will probably disappear one day, but the stones that the temples were carved out of, those will last almost forever. Wow, this is a really intricate mural. This is like very well preserved. Again, very interesting subject material as well, but just very, very ornate. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is very well preserved, especially compared to the other ones we've been seeing. Like, I can actually see the details of like the women's faces and everything. Wow. And they do look like, I don't know if this is right to say, but they do just look like Indian women. Like their faces, I can recognize features in their faces that are still present in the faces of Indian women today. And what's so fascinating about Indian art specifically is the poses that the people have to make for these, displays. Like that's such a un-Western civilization sort of pose that we just looked at. Like that is such an Indian style of like standing and being depicted even. Like this is very Indian.
The bronze sculpture of
Wow, and this is super impressive for like multiple reasons. Not only is it beautiful and the artistry, but there's four sets of arms on this stone sculpture. And I want you all to think back to all the images of Greek statues that you've seen over the years. Most of them are missing their arms. The arms on Greek and Roman statues were so fragile because that's, so much weight is resting on the shoulders. Most of the statues from that period of, Greek history have lost their arms. But these have not lost their arms. Like, not only has this statue not lost its arms, it has two more arms. Like, it has double the arms than you would even expect it to have, and it's still intact. Like, that's so amazing. Like, I want us all to appreciate not only the artistry that went into the creation of this piece, but also the fact that it's still preserved in pretty much its original state. Like, that is so valuable to have. And to understand the purpose of this art, really, you need the whole piece. You need to have the hands telling you that this is a god of some sort, whatever oh man, what's the god? Oh, I can't remember the Hindu god with all the arms, but it's telling you something with the arms, and you would be losing that if the arms weren't there, if the statue was destroyed. So we have to appreciate that this very fragile statue has lasted 1,000 years in this state. Like, we have to appreciate that. Or I appreciate it at least.
holds a unique place in the field of art. It was in the kingdom of...
And again, look at the fingers. Look how hard the fingers would have been to carve. Oh my gosh, this is true mastery right
the
here.
Cholas, that the greatest Indian work...
How are they holding hands? Like, how do you carve a stone to be holding hands with another stone statue? That's insanity, man.
Works of art in metal were made by a school of bronze casters.
Oh, are these bronze? Oh man, I thought these were stone. Wow. Okay, so maybe the stuff I said a second ago makes a lot less sense, or is just less applicable, but it's still impressive. It's honestly more impressive that these are bronze. I can't tell because it's black and white though. Dang. Oh, but they're bronze. Okay, that's real cool too. I feel so stupid now though. Oh my god. Whatever.
Which has not been excelled in the world.
But I guess now that's so funny. So now I think I do understand why these statues, even their arms, have survived so long. And it's because they're not stone, they're bronze, they're metal. Like, it makes sense. Like, it's all making sense now. I'm proud of that. Are these really bronze though? They look stone. I guess it's hard to tell because it's probably rusted bronze. I don't know. Like this. Oh my god, how do you carve that? How do you carve a hand holding a little bull jumping out of the hand? Oh my gosh, this is such artistry, man. This is so impressive. Like this guy leaning over. Again, like if this was a stone statue, that would have been destroyed. Like he would have lost balance, it would have been knocked over, or would have crumbled, but they're not, but they're intact. It's so incredible that they were able to not only make a statue with this posture, but to preserve a statue with this posture for so long. Like it looks like he's leaning on something, but there's nothing holding that weight. So it's been holding its own weight like that for 1,000 years. Wow, and even like these little, I don't know, wraps of fabric that are going over this woman's down there area, like how do you carve like intricacies like that? It's just so amazing. I'm amazed by the artistry on display here. Like those hands, man. The hands are what get me every time. It's just like, how do you get the fingers so delicate like that?
One of the most important and famous of all Hindu icons, The great image of Nataraja in the cosmic dance is intimately associated with Chola bronzes.
Okay, so these are known as the Chola bronzes, or at least these are part of the Chola bronzes. So that is fascinating. All right, so these are not stone, these are bronze. That's actually really interesting. I wish this was in color just so that I could see what they actually look like. Are they just like brown, or are they like, I guess they're probably brown. I'm picturing like, new bronze, like shiny. Wow, like look at this foot, like the anklets, right? The ankle bracelets and the toe rings. Like not only is this woman dressed in an ornate fashion, but she is carved in an ornate fashion. She is wearing an ornate outfit, and she has been carved wearing that ornate outfit. Like the fact that they carved her toe rings into the stone, it's incredible.
The empire of the mighty Cholas is gone. The art they created lives on.
Yeah, this is a very familiar symbol in, like, I don't know, Indian symbology, I guess. I recognize this sort of thing. I don't know exactly what it is, but this is definitely a symbol I've seen before. All right, that's it, but let's look at the credits real quick. Grateful acknowledgments to the Archaeological Survey of India. That's interesting. So I wonder if that's how they discovered those murals, was the Archaeological Survey. That is very interesting. And then the Thanjavur Art Gallery. That's probably where all those bronze statues were. Maybe not, but that's what I imagine. The Chola Heritage. It is made in 1980. That's crazy. They were still making black and white documentaries in 1980 in India. That's so funny. What's funny about this, you guys might not know this, but I have a bunch of these Indian programs, and there are Indian programs in color from like the 60s. So they must have just had like leftover black and white film stock that they were just using or something. Like they had the technology to film these in color, but they were doing them black and white anyway still. So I think they just made so much black and white film stock that they just kept using it even after they'd figured out color, which is so funny. I can't imagine why they would be filming something in black and white in the year 1980 if they had a reason not to be. Like, I have to imagine they were doing this for like a budgetary reason or something. Like 1980, that's firmly in the territory of color film being like a regular thing now. Like there is no reason this to be black and white in the 1980s. All right, but that was it. That was the Chola Heritage. I'll say I definitely had a good time watching that. I will say there's one thing that I feel like missing, and that's information on the Chola Empire. Like what I wanted a map. One, that's what I wish I had. Two, I wish I knew like how the Chola Empire arose. And three, I also wish I understood how the Chola Empire fell. You know, like this whole video was evidence of how great the Chola Empire was. You got to see Chola art at the pinnacle of the empire's life. So because we've been made familiar with the Chola Empire, now I'm invested in the artistic story of the Chola. I want to know. I'm curious what happened, where the Chola Empire came from, and where they went. And I wish I understood more about the Chola Empire itself from watching this. Even though that wasn't really the point of this, this was obviously just to share the artistic heritage of the Chola. But I still wish I knew more about them going into this. I bet Indian people watching this probably already had some familiarity with the Chola, so they were able to parse a lot more of this than I was, but I don't know. I wasn't, so I wish I knew more about the Chola Empire. Maybe you guys in the comments could fill me in on the full history of the Chola Empires. I would very much appreciate a very long comment about the whole history of the Chola. I will read it, I promise. Even though that sort of information wasn't included, still very much enjoyed this program. There was so much amazing artistry on display here. There was so much good temples. I don't know if that makes sense, but there were such good temples in this one. This one had such good archaeology vibes to it. Like this is my favorite sort of yellow, I think. It's just when we're looking at old stone temples. That's like, oh, that's the best. That really is. There's nothing I like more than appreciating ancient art, really. Like that's what yellow is all about, sort of. Not all yellows, but like there's a category of yellows that's just appreciating ancient art. And this is certainly one of those. So I very much had a fun time watching this. I am only gaining more and more appreciation for India's history and all the different historical empires and civilizations and societies that existed and coexisted within India all at once. Because this is not all of India. The Chola heritage is not, all of Indian heritage. This is just one specific part of India that has one very specific, amazing collection of temples and statues and bronzes and whatnot. So I feel like I've made one more step progress into understanding Indian society and culture. Even though I'll never be at the end of that staircase, I'm climbing one step at a time. And I feel like this at least made me aware of the Chola Empire. I had never even heard of that before watching this. So not only am I aware of the Chola, but now I understand their greatest artistic accomplishment, which I feel like, I don't know, I'm building, all right? I'm building my understanding of India. This is definitely helping out. I definitely enjoyed watching this. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this too. And if you did and you want to help support what I do here, you can follow the link in the description that'll take you over to the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is where I get all these old films from. So if you want to support me, donate to them. And with that, I think we're ready to cut to black.